Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ontario Cryptids. We are definitely going to try a different format today, so I hope you all enjoy. If you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story with like-minded people. Now sit back and relax as we begin with today's episode. So this takes place in the summer of 1974. We're heading to an area which is called Zec-Capitachone in Quebec, Canada. This area is wild and is entirely forested. It contains 88 lakes, 52 which are used for fishing, and 10 rivers. You're allowed to wild camp in this area, and you're also allowed to put trailers. The rest is pretty much left to nature. Hi, I think I'm suffering from PTSD. My life is a pure mess. I'm obsessed with Bigfoot, and that is due to my life experiences. I have been doing research for years now. I can't seem to do anything else. When I was young, I think Bigfoot tried to kidnap me. This is the conclusion I came to. It was around the summer of 1974. And I was around 6 or 7 years old. Every summer, my family would spend our summer vacation up north, where my dad would hunt moose every fall and fish every summer. It was a 5-hour drive to a very isolated location. Imagine that there was no paved roads to get there, and every summer the road was washed away by beaver dams and had to be rebuilt by my father and friends using shovels. That's how far north it was. It was an area that people paid to have access. There were 5 families using that area. There were 4 camps located at different lakes, and families used the one designated to their family. I remember this like it was yesterday. The family was packing the van. My dad had left the fishing line in the water while he finished packing. I remember going to check on the line, and the next thing I know, I was battling a fish on the line while my family was just 35 to 40 feet away. They started calling out to me since it was time to go. They couldn't see me and thought I had disappeared. I was yelling back at my father to come and help me catch the fish. It was like they couldn't hear me because they never looked for me by the water. They were all searching in the woods. I continued to battle the fish on the line. It was a huge pike that was caught on the line. The pike jumped out of the water just beside the deck, and with a jolt of its neck, it snapped the line. Listen, it was like it was all in slow motion. That's when my dad came by the water and found me. Here is where things get strange. He asked me where I was since they were all looking for me. I told him I had a huge fish on the line, but the fish had snapped the line and got away. I told him that I was yelling for him to come and help me. My dad was mad and didn't believe me since the line was still in the water where he had left it with the hook and bait still attached. Apparently my fishing ordeal never occurred. So where was I that whole time that I was fishing and they were looking for me? I don't understand. Why couldn't they hear me when I was yelling and I was only 35 to 40 feet away from my family? It was almost impossible that my family did not see me by the water's edge. There were no trees or objects that would have obstructed their view. So why didn't they see or hear me? From my perspective, I was in the same location and I could hear them calling me. I have to say, later on, I would keep having these reoccurring flashbacks of a creature hiding behind a tree. A bit about my father. He left the house when he was young and was in the woods since he was 14. He enjoyed the outdoors and trapped, hunted, and fished. I think a year before, my dad actually saw one in the daytime while picking blueberries. There was a lot of black bears in the area. We had spent an hour and a half getting to a spot to pick blueberries via a dune buggy. We were there maybe 15 minutes when my father grabbed my shoulder and told me to go back to the dune buggy. He was looking over a bump in the terrain that I could not see over due to my height. He looked at my mother and said, "Let's go." I said, "We just spent over an hour getting here, and just after 15 minutes we're leaving?" My mother was asking my father, "Was there a black bear?" My mother would freak out every time she heard the word bear. She continued with, "Why are we leaving? What the hell? What is going on?" All the way back to camp. My father never said a word. I was sitting beside him in the front, and I was asking questions as well. He seemed completely off. He looked pale and bewildered. My mother asked him if he was okay. "Are you feeling sick?" That night I woke up and my parents were talking, and I heard my father say, "I saw a naked man covered in hair." My mother replied, "What? Are you drinking? Are you drunk? You're crazy." At this time, my father wasn't aware of Bigfoot's existence. Now, you have to imagine a naked man in these woods. He would be devoured by mosquitoes, black flies, and hoarflies in a matter of minutes. We left the next day, even though we had at least a week left in our vacation. Remember, it took us 5 hours to get there. At the barrier of the ZAC, a French word meaning controlled harvest zone, there is a cabin where a game warden was stationed. We stopped and my father got out and went to talk to the game warden. They talked for about 30 minutes, and when he came back, he seemed pissed. That autumn, my father went back moose hunting and came back traumatized. That was the last summer I would spend there and never went back after. He never told me what happened. We heard later that one of the other family's sons, who was 21, had disappeared while hunting. They only found his gun and hat, but he was never found. On another occasion, in 2015, my family and I went hiking. I was with my daughter and my now ex. I was the first on the trail leading the way. A short time after, I could smell a bad odor like garbage and vomit. I asked my ex if she could smell anything, and she replied no, and she was only 15 feet behind me. Right after that, I stumbled on a big, huge pink blob on the ground. It didn't move. It was like pigskin color and texture. It was about 8 feet long by 8.5 feet wide and 2 feet high. I poked it with a stick. It was sort of rubbery. Both my ex and I could not identify what the blob was. We continued on, and I had to go pee. I was returning to the trail when I heard a big branches snapping to my right. I turned in that direction of the snapping sound and tilted my head like a fox to locate the prey more precisely. Something big was walking off trail, maybe 30 or 40 feet away. It wasn't walking on 4 legs, but it was biped. I didn't see anything where the sounds were coming from. When I looked over to my ex, she heard the branches break as well, since she was looking in the same direction. When we got to the picnic area, I noticed a small deer following us. I even petted the deer on its head. I thought it was so strange, and I said to my 8-year-old daughter that maybe the deer was sick and maybe we should leave it alone. We kept walking, and when we got just inside the woods, the deer started to scream in pain. I'm wondering whether a Bigfoot was following us. We headed back to the parking lot without any other incident. On another occasion, I remember my uncle being afraid for his children and didn't want them to be outside at dusk. My cousin told me that there were monsters. I said, monsters don't exist. Later, I was talking about this to the children of my cousin, and one of the children said that they had seen a man covered in hair in the woods at dusk. But her older sister cut her off, saying that they didn't exist, and stopped her sister from continuing to talk to me about it. In August of 2017, in the middle of a big city, I swear I saw an Ewok-looking creature resembling the character in Star Wars. I was walking home one night around 10 p.m. It was a warm night and the street appeared deserted. I didn't see a soul while walking home. I continued down the street and I noticed a little Ewok about 3.5 feet tall. It was maybe 20 feet in front of me. It was walking up the street and it turned its body to look at me. This picture depicts the exact location where this occurred. The Ewok creature took the yellow path, and I took the red path. That's when I noticed it. I was looking down while walking up the street. At first I thought it was a child, but when it turned to look, I kind of noticed its shape. It really did look like an Ewok. When it saw me, it started to walk faster and got further up the street. It made a 90-degree turn behind a cedar hedge. As I was getting closer to the hedge, I got scared and wondered what I had seen. I started wondering if I was going to get attacked when I got nearer to the hedge. So I decided to cross the street, and that's when I noticed the big silhouette beside the car. The silhouette was at least 7 to 8 feet tall, if not more. It was standing with its hands on the door handle looking into the car. There was no eye shine. I kept on walking down the street. I didn't see the little one anymore. I was locked onto the big shape, trying to decipher and understand what I was looking at. I got home maybe 20 minutes later when I realized what happened and started to really think about it. I thought at first that I was looking at a kid with a snowsuit on, but I realized it was summer and it didn't make any sense. It was like I was hypnotized until I got home. I could not remember my 20-minute walk home. I am persecuted by my family because I speak out about this to people asking if they ever had experiences. No, I'm not crazy. I have 4 degrees, 2 in computer science and 1 in finance, and 1 to prepare to enter physics. I know this sounds absurd, but I swear this is all true. All of these events has me doing research to try and determine what I have witnessed. I'm not sure I will ever know, although I have some theories. I would like to ask your viewers if they had ever had such an experience in the city. First off, I would like to thank you for sharing your experience starting from childhood. It seems that if one has an experience with Bigfoot, other experiences tend to follow. I can see how for some, this can cause issues moving on with your life. I would have to say that it would seem that the area your family would camp at in the past is definitely a Sasquatch environment. It has everything one would need. Lots of woods and lots of food. I wonder if David Paulides ever covered that missing hunter from Quebec that you mentioned. I hope you all are liking the new format. I do listen to all the comments and the repeating theme was the length of the intro, so leave a thumbs up if you like this format. So from now on, I will hold all my commentaries until the end. If these stories reminded you of an encounter that you may have had and would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com. I'd be honored to share your story on this channel. Before I let you go, I would like to say a big thank you to all the new subscribers and OC community members for getting us to 8.5 thousand subscribers. Without you, this would not be possible. Thank you all so very much. Thank you all for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. Please hit the like button on your way out and smash the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Have a great weekend and I hope to see you all next week right here on Ontario Cryptids.